In order to do a valve clearance adjustment, first you'll have to remove the cam chain tension. Loosen and remove the cam chain tensioner bolt and crush washer. Using a small flat blade screwdriver, turn the tensioner clockwise until lightly seated and hold in place with a pair of locking pliers. Loosen and remove the cam journal bolts as shown. Take note of the different lengths of bolts for the intake and exhaust journals. The cam journals themselves are marked with the left and right and an arrow pointing towards the intake. Removing the journals, watch for any loose locators as they may fall onto the bottom of your engine. Slide the camshaft bearing towards the cam gear to remove the cam chain. With the cam chain out of the way, you can remove the camshaft. Now you can tie up the cam chain. If the cam chain falls into the bottom end, it can be retrieved with a magnet. Now is a good time to inspect your camshaft and your decompressor lever. Make sure everything moves freely and doesn't have any excessive play. Installing a reg as shown will stop any loose valve shims from falling to your bottom end. Only remove the valve shims that need to be adjusted. Make sure to keep track of which valve shims go with which valve. The intake shims are usually stuck to the bottom of the bucket, or they could be on top of the valve. Lift the exhaust valve rocker to get at the valve shim. Measure the valve shim thickness and record them. This valve showing zero clearance will need to be replaced. I'm showing the adjustment just as an example. Calculate the new shim thickness using this equation. This is an example of using the equation from this particular bike. Install the proper thickness valve shim onto the corresponding valve. Clean and lubricate the valve buckets with oil before installation. Make sure the exhaust valve shims are seated squarely on top of the valve. Before inserting your camshaft, it's a good idea to make sure your engine is still at top dead center. Install the camshaft with the cam lobes facing towards the intake. Make sure the camshaft bearing is seated against the cam gear. Slide the cam chain on the cam gear and check the alignment marks. If both marks aren't visible, readjust the cam chain. When you've got it aligned, slide the cam bearing back to the cam journal. Now double check your camshaft alignment marks and your top dead center alignment mark. If both are aligned at the same time, it's time to button it back up. Make sure the rocker arm dowel is lined up so you can get the bolts through the cam journal. Slide in a bearing locator followed by the proper side cam journal with the locating dowels. Now repeat with the opposite side cam journal. Do not torque the bolts unless the cam journals are fully seated. Now install the camshaft journal bolts in their proper positions and torque to 16 Newton meters. Now release your cam chain tensioner, crank your engine over a few times, and recheck your valve clearance. If your valve clearance is still in spec, you can reinstall your cam chain tensioner bolt.